The Pelicans have finally gone ahead and fired embattled head coach Willie Green. He could not survive a loss to the Los Angeles Lakers last night. Now the question is, can James Borrego, the new head coach, be expected to fare any better? Plus, Dirk Nowitzki says the biggest mistake the Mavs made was not firing Nico Harrison sooner. We'll get into his comments as well. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Saturday. Certainly a better day than Willie Green. The Pelicans have fired Willie Green after a 2-10 start to the season. Green was doomed by a miserable 0-6 start and injuries to his best players. The Pelicans were routinely getting crushed on a night-in, night-out basis. Zion Williamson has played just 5 games due to hamstring injury. He's dealt with hamstring issues over the last few years, as well as a number of other injuries. The Pelicans' first team in NBA history. Hey, you set a record to lose 3 of their first 6 games by at least 30 points. Good Lord. That's so bad. It's almost like when you see the team be this bad, you can't help but maybe buy into a little bit the conspiracy theories that they're trying to be so bad that they can actually leave New Orleans and get relocated to another city. It has been an awful season for the Pelicans, and it's made even worse by the pressures of that terrible trade that they made on draft night. Now, not terrible in the sense that Derek Queen has been bad. No, Derek Queen has actually been pretty damn good for a rookie. 10.6 points, 6 boards, 2.3 assists, 1 steal. Look, these are all more than fine for a rookie. You don't love 10% from 3, but he's barely taken any attempts, so whatever, no big deal. 49% from deep. He's been good. He's the type of player that you want to acquire, right? So nice job there for the Pels. You just don't give up a future first-round pick when your team's not expected to be any good, and that's the problem. It puts even more pressure on the team for this season to be good. It puts even more pressure on a young player in Derek Queen to reach those expectations, because everything that he does now is going to be viewed through the lens of, does he justify that trade? The Pelicans gave up their number 1 pick next season just to move up 10 spots and get Derek Queen. Remember, they gave up the 23rd pick in the draft as well. And if it were to happen today, the draft were right now, the Pelicans would be sending the number 4 pick overall to the Atlanta Hawks because of that trade. Yikes. And insult to injury, they had the Pacers pick and they gave it back to them for the 23rd pick, which they later traded up to get Derek Queen for. The Pelicans, had they not made that trade, yes, Derek Queen is good, and I wish we could separate him from the trade, but they could be staring down 2 top 5 picks in a loaded draft class next year. That would be the silver lining on the season. Instead, there is no silver lining aside from, hey, Derek Queen is actually pretty damn good. This team is in a tough spot. And now James Borrego takes over. And I got a question. Can he be expected to be any better than what Willie Green has done with this team? James Borrego, very well respected as a coach. He's been in the mix for a number of head coaching jobs, the Knicks job, the Lakers job. A few years ago, he was in the mix for that one as well. A number of teams have been after him. But now he steps into a team with a rookie point guard, a rookie big off the bench, no Zion Williamson, who's still out due to injury. You've got Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, so you've got some help on the wings. But remember, DeJounte Murray is still recovering from Achilles surgery. This is a tough spot for, a well-respected coach in James Borrego to step into. Best of luck to James Borrego and the Pelicans and their fans, because, man, this has the potential to be disastrous, to not only have a bad season, not only suffer a bunch of injuries, finish at the bottom of the West, and have to hand over a top draft pick, but also watch the Pacers continue to struggle and not get that pick because you decided you wanted the Pacers pick last year instead. Absolutely brutal. I feel for you, Pelicans fans. I feel for you. All right, Dirk Nowitzki with some pointed comments about Nico Harrison and the Mavs' decision-making. We're going to get to that in 30 seconds. Be right back.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code Bulletin. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
All right. Again, use that promo code Bulletin. We always say it. We appreciate it when you guys help support the companies that help support us, help keep us going, help keep us growing. So make sure you do click that link in the description down below. I made a few picks for tonight, scrolled through a few things, checked out some stuff. A lot of interesting things on Sleeper for tonight's game. I went ahead and said RJ Barrett. He's going to get some assists in this one tonight. I think those will be there. Nikola Jokic, can't pick against him either. Points, rebounds, and assists for the big man, the best in basketball. And Pascal Siakam, I said he's going to have a bit of a revenge game against his former team, the Toronto Raptors. So I've got Siakam. I went heavy on overs in this. Siakam, more than 6.5 rebounds. Jokic, more than 50.5 points, rebounds, and assists against Minnesota. I think Minnesota will keep this game close enough to keep the big fella out there on the court. And then RJ Barrett against Indiana. I think there'll be plenty of opportunities against a rough Indiana side to pick up some assists for Barrett. So I've got him more than 3.5 assists in this one. But again, if you guys want to get in on it, click the link in the description down below and check out our wonderful presenting sponsor, and that is Sleeper. Okay, Dirk Nowitzki, the big fella, the Mavs legend, had this to say about the Mavs' decision to fire Nico Harrison and what it means for the future with Cooper Flagg and how the Mavs really messed up here. We know the Mavs made a mistake in making the Luka trade to begin with, but I think Dirk provides some really interesting insight here on the Amazon pregame. By the way, the Amazon pregame and postgame, they are doing a hell of a job. Been absolutely phenomenal. Love watching that.
I know that your phone has been blowing up. Why did this move have to happen?
Well, I think there's just too many distractions, too much going on to keep going this way. This move should have probably happened this summer, honestly. I didn't want this negative energy and this black cloud over the Cooper Flagg era, but here we are now.
Okay, so Dirk says Nico should have been fired over the summer, even after the they're starting to see my vision comments about the Mavs after you fortunately luck out in the lot, 1.8% chance, and you win the draft lottery. You get Cooper Flagg, you get this incredible talent. Dirk said, yeah, you should have fired him right then. You should have fired him then. Should have been fired over the summer because you knew that this was going to start with all this controversy for this new era. You needed a fresh start here. And so you should have, the mistake was you should have fired him over the summer. And he had some interesting detail here.
I just knew, I figured this fan base is a passionate and loyal fan base. I was lucky enough to experience it for 21 years. And I knew they weren't just get over it, as people say, or forget about it. They're extremely passionate, and this trade just made no sense. It made no sense to them, and really there was no explanation for it either. You go to the finals the year before. You gave up all.
So even Dirk, again, a legend, one of the all-time greats, saying that they weren't going to get over this. The Mavs fans were not going to get over this. So what are you going to, like, at some point, you're going to have to pull the trigger and get rid of Nico Harrison. You're going to have to, because they're not getting over it. It's not going to happen. So you're going to need to move on from Nico Harrison at some point because of this trade. And even Dirk saying this trade never made sense.
All these assets to build really the team around Luka with some 6'9" wings that all can switch and guard for him. You had two lob threats with Gafford and Lively, and the team was built around him. You added Clay, which the shooting was a little bit of an issue in the finals against Boston. So you did all this. They started the following season well. Going into Christmas Day game, they were 14-3 out of the last 17 games. So they're just starting to hit their stride, and then Luka gets hurt, and unfortunately, that's the last game he's ever played in the Mavs uniform. So it was very sad. It was very sad how that ended, and it feels like the fans feel like they got robbed of actually seeing the end, seeing this through, seeing Luka develop, into hopefully a champion one day, and it feels like they never got to see the end to this. So this was very heartbreaking, and but now it's I think it's time to move on. It's time to move on now. Focus on this team, on this franchise. This definitely set the franchise back. But now it's about building it back up. And obviously this team is struggling a bit. It needs to support all they can get. So hopefully we can have a good year here from now on, and cheer the team up.
You can tell like how much this still affects Dirk and how disappointed he is in what, because he talks about, the Mavs. I thought he summed it up very, very well, that Mavs fans feel robbed, that they feel like they got to see the start of this story of Luka as a Dallas Maverick, but they never got to see the conclusion. They got invested in it, and they got part of the way through, and then somebody robbed them, pulled the rug out from under them. And he's right. The Mavs were built around Luka. It was all about, well, conceptually, what do you put around Luka in order to have success? Athletic, switchy wings who can shoot. That's what you need, as well as lob threat bigs. Well, guess what you've got? Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, got your lob threat bigs. You've got switchy wings who can shoot. You bring in Klay Thompson for his shooting. Now, did that work or not? That's a little on the fence, though. Obviously, you'd be much better with Luka than without. But the team was built to play with Luka. And then you remove the key piece to all, you remove the linchpin to all of that with this idea that defense wins championships, and Kyrie is going to be able to take on the offensive burden. Well, Kyrie has an injury history. Kyrie gets injured. You get Anthony Davis, who's going to be your defensive anchor. He's got an injury history. He gets injured. He's still not allowed back. And Dirk talked about this a little bit on Amazon last night as well, that, you can't allow Anthony Davis to be out there on the court if your concern is that he could have a more significant injury, that he's dealing with a calf situation, and team doctors are saying it could turn into an Achilles issue if he comes back too quick. And if that happens, Anthony Davis pops an Achilles, then what do you do? Then you're really in trouble, right? Because then you have an Anthony Davis who's getting paid a ton of money and is not tradable. Nobody's going to take him at that point. You can't, even if you want to pivot into a rebuild, it's very difficult to do it because you can't turn Anthony Davis into other assets. So right now, the Mavs are being very, very careful with AD because they know it's not just about getting him out there on the court and trying to help them win games this season. By the way, they lost in overtime again last night against the Clippers in another heartbreaker. It's not just about, though, getting Anthony Davis back on the court. It's about making sure he's actually healthy. So if the right opportunity comes along, you can trade him and start building this team back up now that Nico Harrison is gone, because Nico certainly was never going to trade him, because that would be an admission of guilt. That would be an admission that you had made a mistake. And so this is what moving on from Nico allows you to do. It allows you now to look at things from a fresh perspective and say, hey, we did mess up. Let's not dwell on the past, though. Let's not dwell on past mistakes. Let's figure out what the path forward is, even if that means admitting that we screwed up. You hear that, Sacramento? Sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you need to do that. I want good things for the Sacramento Kings. We need to figure out a way to right the wrongs, admit that you're going down the wrong path, and make some difficult decisions. Same thing needs to happen with the Dallas Mavericks, and that's why they're being so careful with Anthony Davis, right? They don't want to wall off the opportunity to pivot away from this team, start a Cooper Flag era, move on from AD, move on from Klay, maybe move on from Kyrie. You tank this year, try to get a nice high draft pick, and see what you can do from there. As of this moment, the Dallas Mavericks, if the draft, we have a long way to go, but if the draft were to happen right now, the Dallas Mavericks would be tied with, ironically, the Sacramento Kings for the fifth spot if the draft were to stay chalk. In fact, it's way too early, but let's just do it real quick. Let's see. Does the draft lottery, do the basketball gods smile upon Dallas yet again? Let's see. Tankathon, what do we say? They do. The number 2 pick, AJ Debinsa, come on down to Dallas. And then you're building around Debinsa. You're building around Cooper Flag. The Hawks smile all the way to the 4th pick in this one. Look at Utah moving on up. And the Brooklyn Nets moving up to the number 1 overall pick. But that could be a pretty good pairing, right? Things suddenly look much sunnier in Dallas, especially if you're able to turn Anthony Davis into assets. Maybe Kyrie, definitely Klay. Move on from some of these guys. You move into the future with Cooper Flag and whoever you get in this draft, and then you try to grow from there. It's time to turn the page, a new era in Dallas. You have to. You moved on from Nico Harrison. Dirk says, and I think he's right, you should have done it last summer. You should have done it over the summer and not let it bleed into the season, because Mavs fans weren't going to forget. And even with all the losing, had they been winning, maybe that saves Nico Harrison. If they're 3-8 instead of 8-3, or sorry, if they are 10-3 instead of 3-10, maybe that saves Nico Harrison. Probably does. But we knew that's not the way this was going to play out. Not with the injuries this team's been hit with. So you needed to move on from him, clear the air, let Mavs fans reset, and now you can do something moving forward. We'll see if the Mavs take that path and if Anthony Davis can get back on the court and can he stay on the court long enough for the Mavs to use him as a trade chip. Chicago already rumored to be a team that would have potentially some interest in him. A number of other clubs certainly would as well. But everybody, once again, hope you're having a phenomenal Saturday. Appreciate all of you who have joined us here at the Basketball Bulletin. Please make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out our great presenting sponsor, and that is Sleeper. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.